Jalen Hurts odds, they fell almost 200% after getting blown out by San Francisco. And another rough outing has Patrick Mahomes odds at plus 650. That's the lowest they've been since week 3. Rachel, is there a chance to buy low on guys like Hurts and Mahomes that were just at the top of the board?
I think there is, Olivia. I like Patrick Mahomes at plus 650 here. When you look at it, things that matter in the MVP race, yes, the passer rating matters, and yes, the touchdowns and the number of interceptions matter. But at the end of the day, the team has to perform. And the Kansas City Chiefs are routinely and always at the top of almost every statistical category that Patrick Mahomes can control. They're scoring a bunch. They are winning games. They have a chance to win the AFC. And when you look at it, yes, their defense is performing, but you can't win games unless you score points. And Patrick Mahomes is doing that. And I think if the Kansas City Chiefs can somehow find a way to win the AFC, he will win the MVP over a guy like Tua and over a guy like Brock Purdy because, let's face it, Brock Purdy, people seem to think that he's kind of buoyed by McCaffrey and Samuel and the cast around him, where, as everybody knows, Patrick Mahomes, he's kind of the guy. So I like him. I think this is a good value spot here.
Right. He'll look all the more valuable if they get it done without the help, like you mentioned. Aaron, how are you handicapping this market after last week's major shifts?
I have a crazy underdog for you, and that is Josh Allen at plus 3,300. Now, Josh Allen is close to the league lead in every advanced metric out there, from DVOA to EPA to Pro Football Focus's grades. Obviously, the Bills are only 6-6, but imagine the narrative if the Bills somehow go 4-1 or 5-0 over their last 5 games, and Allen plays his best football in the last month of the season and carries them into the playoffs. MVP voting is often about narrative, and that would be a winning narrative. Is it likely? No, but it's likelier than the 3,300 odds that Josh Allen currently has, and that's why I like that as a really fun long shot bet.
Boy, I know what games you guys are watching this weekend. You'll have your eyes on that Chiefs-Bills game. Man, let's continue to discuss futures, but focus on how that 49ers win impacted the odds to win the NFC. It's no surprise that San Francisco is the favorite. Their odds improved almost 25%, plus 130. The Eagles are considerably behind them now at plus 280. That's almost a 65% drop from last week. That's huge. They'll be traveling to Dallas this weekend to face the Cowboys, who have the third best odds at plus 450. That's a 10% increase from last week. The Lions are still being looked at as a dark horse as they struggle more lately with plus 750 odds to win the NFC. Aaron, is there still value in the 49ers to win the NFC, or are they too inflated now?
Believe it or not, I think there is still value here. Now, my DVOA metric goes all the way back to 1981. And in that 43 years, the San Francisco 49ers are the 8th best team ever measured through 12 games. They are really dominating the league right now, especially if you take out those 3 games where Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey were hurt. Therefore, in our simulations, I have them going to the Super Bowl over half the time, and that makes plus 130 actual value, even when the number is that low.
I like that. Some history in that metric. Rachel, would you grab the Cowboys now if you think they beat the Eagles this weekend, or are you liking a different team here?
Yeah, I'm with Aaron in that my model doesn't have value on the 49ers, but it does have them as the most likely candidate to win the NFC. So if you're looking for a winning bet, for what it's worth, my model's got San Francisco at 47% to win the NFC. And so when you look at this, wow, that's a lot of value there. But I think you can buy low on Philadelphia potentially if you think they win this weekend. If you don't think Philadelphia goes into Dallas and wins this weekend, there is no value on that play. However, if you do think Philadelphia goes into Dallas, then there is some value on that number. They have been stumbling of late. And yes, my model has them as the second most likely team to win the NFC. So that's exactly where they belong. But you never know with the health of Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, kind of like Aaron said, you never know health-wise. And so there is an outside shot to potentially get Philadelphia value here if you think they beat the Cowboys this weekend.
Man, that is going to be a good game. Dallas hasn't lost a game since their last meeting with Philly. Okay, let's stop looking at the future and let's start looking at this weekend's games, specifically who the public is loving. We love this segment. Staying in the NFC, the 49ers are hosting the Seahawks, but it's not the spread that the public is all over. It's the total. 84% of early bets and 96% of the money is on the over in San Francisco, which has seen the total move up 1 point from when it opened already. Rachel, are you fading the public on this total?
I am leaning to fading the public. Right now, it's a no bet for me, but I'm leaning to fade, and I'll tell you why. When you look at in-division games past week 13, the under historically wins nearly 60% of the time. And so there's value right there. The games are tighter. They mean a lot more because we're battling for playoff positioning. And there's just a lot more on the line, which likely means that the play calling is going to be a little bit safer. So if anything, I am fading the public here because of the historical sort of data. I also have this number projected at 43.7. So it's in and around the number there, but it is leaning the number.
Aaron, what do you think of this total? Is the public right?
I hate to sound like a copy machine, but I'm now going to say basically all the same things. Yes, I am slightly fading the public, but I wouldn't bet this total at all because my model also has the total come out very close to this total. And I was also going to mention that, yes, divisional games do, everything else being equal, tend to have slightly lower scoring than other games and tend to go towards the under. The other thing I was going to point out is it's interesting, pace matters a lot for totals. Seattle is the second fastest paced offense in the league, but San Francisco is the slowest paced offense in the league. So I think those two things cancel each other out, and I would just stay away from this one.
Okay, I like agreement. It makes me have confidence in that. Let's look at another game. It's one we've already brought up. The public is loving this spread in Bills-Chiefs. We've seen some great games between the Bills and Chiefs over the last couple years, so it's no surprise. It's got to be one of the most bet games this weekend. Even after a lackluster performance in Green Bay, the public loves Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at home. I do too, with almost 80% of the early bets on the Chiefs to cover the spread. It opened at -3. It's already been bet down to -1.5. Crazy. Aaron, you mentioned Josh Allen earlier for MVP. Are you fading the public and taking the Bills?
Well, it was a long shot pick because the honest truth is I think the Chiefs are more likely to win this game, and I am not fading the public. I am with the public on Chiefs -1.5. And the reason is what's happened to the Bills defense since they had a number of injuries in week 4 and 5. Since week 5, the Bills defense is the second worst in the league by DVOA. Over that same time, the Chiefs defense is 11th, and the offenses are similar. I'm going to give you a stat that's important for this game, and that is that the Chiefs should blitz Josh Allen. The Chiefs defense goes from 5.8 yards allowed per pass without a blitz to 4.2 yards allowed per pass with a blitz. I think they'll get to Allen. I think Mahomes will get his points. I think they'll cover this spread. Chiefs -1.5.
Rachel, are you backing the Chiefs and the public?
I am going to be the copy machine this time and pretty much regurgitate everything Aaron said. I am on the Chiefs. I liked them at -3, so I certainly like them at -1.5. I think when you look at this, the loss of Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano have been absolutely astounding for the Buffalo Bills. They have not been able to stop anything, which doesn't give me a ton of confidence that they're going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the rest of that Kansas City offense. When you look at this, Isaiah Pacheco is playing really well. Patrick Mahomes, even though he has some turnovers, so does Josh Allen. Josh Allen has thrown an interception, I believe, in 6 straight games. And when you look at the blitzing stat that Aaron laid out, Josh Allen is most likely to throw an interception when he is under pressure. And so if Kansas City does blitz the way that they have been of late, I think that not only are the Buffalo Bills going to have issues stopping the Chiefs on offense, they're also going to be able to use their defense to create turnovers against Josh Allen. I think this spread probably needs to be a couple of points more. So I'm all over the Chiefs -1.5 with Aaron.
Right? I thought so too. Listen to this. Mahomes is 7-0 following a loss when scoring 3 touchdowns or fewer, and he wins those games by about 12 points per game. So 1.5, give me that all day long. Okay, it's time to discuss some trends that factor in where the team is playing. The Cowboys, Browns, and Dolphins have all been excellent at home this season, of course, covering the spread in at least 80% of their games as the home team. Meanwhile, the Saints have yet to cover a spread at home, failing in all 5 chances at the Superdome. Fade Dennis Allen all day long. Aaron, do you trust the Saints to cover their first spread at home?
I do, because here is a dirty little secret. In the long run, home road splits do not really matter. In the long run, basically every team in the NFL has the same home field advantage. The fact that the Saints, who used to be unbeatable at the Superdome, are now suddenly super beatable at the Superdome. Like, nothing has changed about the Superdome. Nothing has changed about the New Orleans crowd. It all evens out over time. So please give me the Saints to cover 5.5 points against the Panthers, who are next to last in DVOA, while the Saints are 20th.
So Rachel, which home team is covering this weekend then?
Oh man, you know what? I think the trend continues. I am kind of with the Saints here in that they don't cover at home. I know Aaron thinks that they're going to cover at home, and that is, let's face it, everything he laid out in the home field advantage is absolutely correct. There's nothing that changed about the building or the fan base. It's just who gets better or worse. I like the Panthers, especially if it gets the +6 to cover. The Derek Carr injury is what's driving this. I think if Derek Carr is healthy, then the Saints are likely to cover at home. But you never know with this kind of injury, especially concussions, they can play a huge role. Bryce Young has kind of come along as the season has come along, and I think the Panthers defense isn't as bad as everyone thinks it is. And so in a situation where you potentially have a backup quarterback, be it Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, whatever, you pick your poison, I think that the Panthers defense is going to be able to keep this game close.
Okay, let's look at the complete opposite. Teams who love being on the road. The Jaguars are expected to be without quarterback Trevor Lawrence. They got a myriad of injuries last week, but are perfect 4-0 against the spread on the road. The Vikings, Buccaneers, Lions, and Colts have all been excellent on the road as well, covering at least 80% of the time as the away team. Rachel, which road team do you like to cover this weekend?
I'm back in Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, Olivia. I think when you look at this, the Chicago Bears secondary in particular has not been very good this year, and the Detroit Lions are very good with their explosive plays. When you look at the receiving core that Jared Goff has and just his ability to get the ball and move it down the field, I think that the Chicago Bears are really going to struggle to stop the Lions offense. And yes, they have Justin Fields back. And yes, the Detroit Lions defense has been somewhat inconsistent within each game this year. I do think that the Lions are going to be able to stop the Bears because they do not have enough weapons offensively to keep up with the Lions. I'm going with the Lions on the road this week. I think they cover probably by about 5.
Have you seen the weather report for Chicago?
I have. It scares me, but I have to trust the Lions.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure you saw that. Goff isn't good outside in December and January.
Yep.
Aaron, which road team continues their covering ways?
And yet, despite that about Goff, I'm also going with the Lions. I know the Lions defense has struggled a little bit in recent weeks. I know the stats about Goff outdoors when there's weather. But the Lions are still the better team here, especially given the quality of their own offense, running the ball and passing the ball. The Lions are 9th in pass DVOA. The Bears are 25th on pass defense, despite an all-pro season from cornerback Jalen Johnson. So overall, I would say give me the Lions to continue their winning spread ways on the road, covering 3.5 in Chicago against the Bears.
Goff is 8-13, you guys, outdoors in December and January. Can you tell that the Bears are my underdog of the week? Okay, it's time for primetime props. We're going to share our favorite prop from either the Sunday night or both of the Monday night games. Aaron, are you going to Eagles-Cowboys or are you looking at Monday night?
I'm going to Eagles-Cowboys because the Dallas Cowboys are second in DVOA against running backs as receivers, allowing them just 28 receiving yards per game. DeAndre Swift from the Eagles has less than 10 receiving yards in half of his games this year. And we know that the Eagles were using more Kenneth Gainwell last week. So I like DeAndre Swift under 15.5 receiving yards as my favorite prop from Sunday and Monday night this week.
Okay, Rachel, give me a good prop in prime time.
I'm going with the guy that has yet to fail me this year on Monday night, and that is Tyreek Hill, the cheetah. At this point, I feel like we're going to start getting negative odds for this guy to get 2+ touchdowns, never mind 1. And so when I look at this, you have to take this. The Tennessee Titans are allowing almost 200 receiving yards a game, and Tyreek Hill is carving up the NFL this year. That guy might be the first receiver to crack 2,000 receiving yards. He's finding the end zone every single week. It's becoming automatic. My model has Tyreek Hill at 69% to score a touchdown this week. I cannot ignore that against an awful Titans passing defense. He is my primetime prop.
Okay, guys, I like both of them. Go ahead and hit me with your blue chip bet. It's your best bet, anything you love, spread, money line, total, prop, whatever you want. Rachel, ladies first. What's your blue chip bet?
Last week we established that I'm the president of the CJ Stroud fan club, so it will absolutely not surprise you to find out that I am backing the Houston Texans on the money line this week. They're playing the New York Jets, who didn't even know who their starting quarterback was going to be because they had a guy who did and didn't want to play. That doesn't seem like it's really good for team chemistry. Yes, the Jets defense has been pretty good, but when you look at it, CJ Stroud is leading the league in passing yards right now. He doesn't care if it's a good defense or a bad defense. He is carving teams up, and I look at this and I go, he carved up the Broncos defense, which has been really good of late. There's no reason to think he can't carve up the Jets defense. We know the Jets aren't going to be able to score no matter who is playing at quarterback. And so I'm backing CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans.
I'm sure as the president of the fan club, Rachel, you already know this, but a rookie hasn't led the league in passing yards since 1950 at the quarterback position. That's just incredible. Okay, Aaron, what's your blue chip bet?
I know that playing unders is no fun because everybody enjoys scoring, but my blue chip bet this week is an under on the highest total on the board, and that is Eagles-Cowboys under 52 on Sunday night. These are two of the slower-paced offenses in the NFL, and strong run defenses means that the offenses will be in bad down and distance situations. As much as we think of these as two great offenses with two great quarterbacks, they're only 7th and 8th in offensive DVOA this year. I mean, that's scoring, but 52 is a pretty high number. And therefore, I'm going under 52 on Eagles and Cowboys.
Eagles gave up 42 last week. Come on.
It's a week-by-week league, man. Stuff changes every week. The last time these two teams played each other, they went under 52.
Mm-hmm. You got it. Okay. I'll be watching that one closely. Guys, thanks so much for both your insight and research. We appreciate you as always. And thank for all of you at home for watching Inside the Lines. We'll be back every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. See you next week.